The great Bob Cooney joins us on a Victory Monday. What's up, Bob?
John, how are you, buddy?
Oh, he's got the Irish sweatshirt on. You go, Bob.
Oh, that's my high school. We're not doing Notre Dame. That's my high school.
Are you not a Notre Dame fan?
You know, I grew up Irish Catholic, so it was always on Saturday. So you had that. But no, I have a lot of friends that went to Penn State, a lot of friends' children who went to Penn State. So I kind of had to lean that the other night. But I was just rooting for a good game. I didn't really care who won that game.
You got it. It was a good game.
It was.
Yesterday was not a good game. It was a good game in the outcome, Bob. But the Eagles' offense sluggish. I think a lot of us expected that. I mean, I was a little bit surprised they were as sluggish in the passing game as they were. But it felt like that Nick Sirianni knew that the offense wasn't doing great and Jalen was off. And Kellen Moore called a game accordingly. They said, hey, Packers are banged up. They're losing wide receivers. Jordan Love looks like he's off. Our defense can control the game. We're not going to take chances. So the Eagles commit no turnovers. And, it wasn't a comfortable win, but it was a decisive victory. The Eagles got the win. That gets them to next week. I'm not worried about anything. Mostly I'm not worried about anything, Bob. How about you?
Yeah, I heard you say that earlier this morning, like right at the beginning of the show. You go, I'm not worried. It's good they won the game. And then the things that you said afterward, I was like yelling at my computer. I said, John, you are worried. Admit it. It's okay. You're worried. Look, here's the worry for me. It's all Jalen Hurts, right? The running game, fine. Offensive line, absolutely fine. The defense, terrific. So all of those things were really good. The Kellen Moore thing, the Jalen Hurts thing, if we want to throw Nick Sirianni in there also, yeah, I am concerned a little bit because of this, John. Jalen Hurts is indecisive. He doesn't know what he wants to do with the football when he goes back to throw the ball. And I kept watching yesterday. And look, I look at games differently. And you know this. Kyler knows this from us, knowing each other for all these years. I look at it more as a journalist, more than I do as a fan. I look at it and I try to decipher what's going on here. Well, what is going on here? To me, Jalen Hurts looks very indecisive. He looks like he is a little bit, I hate to use this word with a professional athlete, afraid to throw the ball unless somebody is wide open. He's not throwing people open. He's not throwing anticipatory passes. He's not doing that. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, Kellen Moore, make it easy for him. Let's do the rollout. My wife will tell you, I was sitting here saying, early in the game, John, roll them out. Let them make the easy throws there. Let your wide receivers, your tight ends make plays, even your running backs. Just get them the ball in the air easily and make plays that way. Kellen Moore didn't seem to call them either. It was more of a go back, Jalen, look, scramble, either get sacked, throw the ball away. They have to do a better job of making easier throws for him, in my opinion. Could it be the rust? Could it be because he didn't play? Maybe. Or is he in a bad spot mentally of he's just afraid to pull the trigger? I don't know, but I don't think in the second half, you saw some easier throws, right, John? You saw the little throws. You saw the rollout, dump off things. You saw the Dallas Goedert throw. I think those are the type of things that they have to start with next week, whether it's against the Rams or the Vikings, in order to get some confidence in Jalen Hurts.
So if you remember, they started with pace, which I was actually hoping they would do, but they scored so fast because they were gift wrapped the opening kickoff. So I think their thought coming out was just that. Short throws, get it out, get them some confidence, get them rolling a little bit. And then from there, you didn't really see a lot of pace the rest of the game. I think you saw it at one point a little bit. But Bob, Jalen Hurts doesn't throw guys open. He doesn't throw with anticipation. He's throwing. Donovan was a lot like this too. He throws to open receivers. Donovan didn't throw a lot of interceptions because he's not doing that. So I wouldn't expect that to change. But here's why, and you're right. The story's Jalen Hurts. 100% it's Jalen Hurts. It's going to be Jalen Hurts all week locally. It's going to be Jalen Hurts all week nationally. The last time we had this type of discourse was after A.J. Brown said, what's wrong? He's like, the passing game. And then BG came out and he said there was those guys aren't friends anymore or whatever. They responded that next week against the Steelers. And it was Jalen had a really good passing day. It was also the plays they were calling. And it was the fact that the Eagles coaches decided we're going to get the passing game going. It's almost like some weeks they don't care if they get the passing game going or not. There was a lot of slants to A.J. Brown early in that Steelers game. Like, if you want the passing game to get going, then actually come out and act like you want the passing game to get going. So I wonder if they're going to do this week. We don't know who they're playing yet. Minnesota has a very good defense, right? So might be a really tough matchup if Jalen's struggling and the passing game's struggling.
You're so right. And just look back to the game against, the Giants, last game of the season. What did they do? Dallas Goedert gets in and plays because they wanted to get him some run to get, make sure his knee was okay, get the rust off or whatever. What did they do? They designed like 5 or 6 passes to him in the first half so they can get him going. And he's open. And McKee sees him and hits him. It's like, okay, why aren't you running slants? Why aren't you running the easy things for Jalen Hurts? Now, look, like I said, offensive line great, running game great, defense great. Are we picking on one thing? Kind of, but it's a concern, John. Like, it's what's going on here? Like, why is Jalen Hurts? Did he look right yesterday?
No.
I mean, yeah, I didn't think so either. And I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why they didn't make it easier for him. When he sits back in a pocket anymore, it's not good. He just waits too long. He's waiting for somebody to get wide open. The receivers seem like they're getting tired. They showed A.J. Brown one time yesterday on a route that he ran something and kind of just stopped and stood there. Like,
well, he was reading his book. He forgot that he was out on the field. He was reading his book.
Like, what is that? I'm not. It's funny. I didn't get pissed off at it. I'm watching it. I kind of laughed at it. What are you doing?
Bob, we haven't even talked about it today because we were there's so much to talk about with the game. I've never seen it. So people that are out there, and it's mostly social media, which isn't real life, but people are out there being like, why are you trying to make an issue out of this? Because he's reading a book on the sideline. Like, what are you talking about? Since when is that regular to be reading Inner Excellence by Jim Murray? I mean, come on, man.
God bless him. He loves to read, and maybe he needed some divine words of wisdom, whatever it may be. but really? I mean, if I'm on the sideline, I don't know. If I'm an offensive coordinator, if I'm Kellen Moore and I walk over and I see he's got a book in his hands, what are you doing? Like, are you saying, yo, AJ, come on, man. What are we doing here? Only in Philadelphia, right, John?
I don't think you say anything.
Yesterday.
Well, so I heard Jalen Hurts was asked about it after the game. And you know how LeBron has been accused of carrying around these books but never reading them? Because you get the wiseacre journalist that says, hey, well, what's your favorite chapter in the book? And he's got no idea what to say. But he carried around a couple books. So I heard Jalen after the game say, oh, you only see him with the book. You never actually see him reading the book. So I guess he has it out there. Maybe it's like, Bob, I had a blanket. Remember Linus with his blanket? I had the blanket when I was a kid, and if my mom took it to wash it, I would go crazy. Maybe that's his comfort blanket, that book, to where he feels comfortable out there.
All right, man. For 3 hours, stop being comfortable. Don't be comfortable. I like football players that aren't comfortable. Go out there and be uncomfortable and be pissed off that you don't have your whoopee, that you don't have your book with you. Go out there and play football. It's I could understand him being, frustrated yesterday, and I don't mind that at all. I don't mind when receivers, running backs, whatever, I don't mind them getting frustrated when they're not getting the football because, look, he's an all-pro. He's a guy that's going to make plays for you. Why are they not designing things to get him the football? Why are they not designing slants, John? Like easy throws that Jalen Hurts is accustomed to making. I don't understand. Nobody's really brought up Kellen Moore in all of this over, the Jalen Hurts talk of, well, he's, I had friends at the game that were texting me and somebody FaceTimed me during the game and they're like, Jalen Hurts is about to get booed off the field. And I was a little surprised at that, but he said people are getting real uncomfortable with this play right here. There are receivers open that he's not throwing to. So,
no doubt about it.
Fixed, right, John? That has to get fixed. And if that is fixed, that's probably a 34-12.
Oh, it's a blowout. Right? It's a blowout. It is a put your feet up in the fourth quarter. This is an easy one. Who do we have next week? And it was. I mean,
I'll tell you my one other concern, John. I wanted to get this into you because you brought his name up earlier on your show.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be this guy, but I have to because this is reality. Oren Burks, he sucks. He's terrible. He is an awful linebacker. Like, I'm watching, God bless him on the special teams play, getting the fumble, great hit there. But I'm texting with my old boss yesterday watching the game, and I don't know how many times I could show you that we were saying, what is 42 doing here? Like, he's out of position. He's not making tackles. He's whiffing on tackles. They have a real problem if Nakobe Dean's out next week. I almost was like begging for Jeremiah Trotter Jr. to get in that game yesterday. Maybe he will be the starter next week. But that's a problem that we have to keep an eye on this week, John.
Yeah, and Dean, and the way he left and just the overall tone of it, at this point, I think most people would be surprised if he played next week. And it's a shame because he had such a breakout season, and to lose him like this is not good. Like, this defense has been number one for a reason, and Dean's been a big part of that. Nolan Smith had 2 sacks yesterday. And yeah. Bob, he's went from a guy that I had on bust watch at the beginning of the season to now, he's their most consistent pass rusher at this point, especially with BG off the field. He's been absolutely tremendous.
And the way he's doing it, John, it's really cool because you're looking at a slender, one of those
235.
Right, exactly. Those defensive ends, it's going to win you with speed. But, man, he shows some power, too. Like, he gets offensive linemen off balance with his speed, first of all. And then once he sees that they're on one foot or their hips are leaning one way, he uses his power to push through. And, he had one play yesterday. It was a helmet to the shoulder or whatever, but it shows power. Like, he put his head down, hit the guy, and the guy was out for the rest of the game, the offensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, man. Yep.
He's playing well. Nolan Smith is playing really, really well. I would have liked to have seen a little more Josh Sweat yesterday, because if you can get both of those guys going and, maybe taking turns on somebody throwing some pressure here and there. The defensive line I thought was okay, was good yesterday. There wasn't anything really to complain about yesterday except, and like I said, I hate to say it, quarterback.
Agreed. Last thing. I didn't see the 76ers and Comcast Spectacor coming to an agreement on building a shared arena, and they're no longer building downtown. What the hell, Bob Cooney?
This is so weird. Now, I sat in on 2 presentations by the 76ers while this was going on. I was lucky enough to be there where everybody that was involved came, gave their presentation to a group of us, told us what they were doing. It was mind-blowing. They had every question answered. It seemed like they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and it was something that they wanted to move forward with. My first thought yesterday, John, when this came out at like noon yesterday, is ownership staying here? Is Josh Harris and company all of a sudden saying, well, these Commanders, they're a lot of fun, and that hockey team that we run, and this is just speculation in my head, that premier soccer league team that we have, should we commit to Philadelphia something down the road, 9 years down the road? I wondered about that. I wonder if something had to come up, right, John? It wasn't just all of a sudden, you know what, never mind. We put all these resources into building this thing, putting presentations together, answering the questions of people of Chinatown. I don't think it was all of a sudden they woke up on a Sunday morning and said, you know what? I was having a cup of coffee this morning. I said, nah, let's, excuse me, let's take this out. I don't think that was the case. I don't know. I think there's a bigger story to all this that we'll find out pretty soon, John.
Yeah, my reaction was, the reporting is going to tell the real story here, because something gives here. It's not just that they said, oh, well, on second thought, we're going to build inside. The amount of time and effort and resources and fighting with all these protesters to just do an about face after they get approval. They got approval for it. They were home free. Now they just had to do the project, and now they're doing back in South Philly. It's unbelievable.
Something's really strange here. And you're right. There is a bigger story. Somebody will find it. Somebody will get it. Somebody will run with it. And look, I'm not saying it could be a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing that they said, you know what? When the city finally asked for $100 million over the $50 million we were getting, something like that, if that's it, okay. But I think fans in general are probably happy that it's going to stay down in the South Philly area.
Yeah, I'm great with it. It would have been in Center City. I thought it could have revitalized Market East, and it would have been good for the city. But in South Philly, I'm good. I'm probably more likely to go to I am more likely to go to a game if it's in South Philly than in Center City. So
yeah, because we're used to it, right? And it's funny. One of the times the Sixers were giving a presentation, they asked me. They said, "Bob, you covered the league. How many arenas are downtown in the NBA?" And it's almost all of them, John. It's
yeah.
almost every arena in the NBA is downtown. So it's not like an impossibility to do. It's a probability to do. And there's ways that can make it work. But we as fans, whether you're from Jersey, Philly, whatever, you're just used to going to the South Philly area. So I think change is something that maybe us fans weren't ready for.